Hello, and welcome back to Old School Nana. Do you just love your old, heirloom family recipes as much as I do? Or maybe you don't even have any to love. Well, that's okay because I have plenty to share with you. And today is the day that I'm going to share with you a spice cake recipe from my great grandmother that is still a family favorite even today. So, come on in and join me in the kitchen.
This is actually my mother's handwriting where she copied down my great grandmother's recipe. Now, whether my great grandmother got this recipe from her mother or maybe she learned it while she was being educated at the Chilocco Indian boarding school where she graduated, we don't know, and I suppose we never will know. However, this would have been a popular cake back during the Great Depression era. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, but y'all know that Nana likes to do a lot of talking, and it takes a little while to make a cake. Not a long while, but my mother says, or Grandma Gallenkamp says, beat one egg, add a half cup of sour milk, a half cup of boiling water, and a half cup of melted shortening, and a teaspoon of vanilla. All right, well, let me just start with beat one egg. And then I'm going to tell you how to sour the milk. Now, Grandma wouldn't have had to sour the milk the way we're going to. She would have had a milk cow and had no refrigeration. And when milk went sour, well, because they lived during a time in our country's history where food was hard to come by and you didn't throw anything away. Well, the last thing they would have thrown away would have been milk once it went sour. So, all right, now, we need a half cup of sour milk. And my mother even made a notation down here for us. So she says, to sour the milk, add 1 tablespoon of vinegar to the milk and stir. So, if you happen to have milk that's gone sour on you, you wouldn't have to add the vinegar to make it sour. You just use it. My milk happens to be good. So, we're going to pour a half cup of milk in here. Now, we're going to add a tablespoon of vinegar. And if we're unable to stir that up pretty quickly, it is very likely going to curdle on us, and we don't want it to curdle. All right, so here we go. I got a big old jug of vinegar. I'm going to hope I don't overflow my tablespoon. All right, here we go. Got it. Oh, perfect. You did good, Nana. All right. Let's just drizzle that in. Because if you guys saw my cheese video, you saw that adding vinegar to milk, well, it caused it to turn into cheese, and that's not what we're wanting today. We're actually just wanting our milk to be sour. Now, I know this is all going to sound strange to you, but stick with me. I'm telling you, it'll be a new family favorite for your family. Now we need a half cup of boiling water. We need a half cup of melted shortening. We're just going to add shortening until it comes up to 1 cup. And not only that, but this is going to help as far as melting the shortening, because it says we need a half cup of melted shortening. I was thinking about it as I was looking over this recipe again. Now, y'all, I've made it many times, but it's been a long time. So I had kind of forgotten this part. I was thinking of it, and I thought, now, you know, my great-grandmother would probably not have been using shortening. The likelihood is she would have been using lard because they would have had a hog or one or more hogs on their farm, and then they would have rendered the fat down and made lard with it. Now, right now we got 3/4 of a cup in there, so we're not. Remember, we started at a half cup of water, and we want a half cup of melted shortening. So we got to get all the way up to the 1 cup mark in our measuring cup. Then I'm going to, I suppose you could say, cheat just a little, because I'm going to put it back in the microwave, and that way it will not only heat the water to boiling, it will also melt the shortening. While that is melting, I'm going to show you another way to grease your pan, probably grease and flour. Notice there are no instructions. You probably can't see that, but there are no instructions on here for what size of pan, whether it needs to be greased and floured. We don't know. We don't know any of that. We're going to have to kind of make that up on our own. It doesn't even tell us. It just says preheat the oven to 350. Doesn't even tell us how long to bake it. So you can see where I got it from as far as I just kind of cook by sight and smell. We'll come back to that in a minute. Let's check that shortening and water. You can use some of that spray stuff on your pan to keep this from sticking. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this into the oven, the preheated oven, and let it sit for just a few minutes and begin to melt. And then I'll take a paper towel and spread it around. Y'all remind me here in about, less than a minute or about a minute, because I'm going to check on that water and shortening. Hopefully they're about right. That looks perfect. I guess today we probably would just use like vegetable oil or something. But as I said, my grandma would have had access to lard, not vegetable oil, and she wanted it to liquefy, and so therefore she added it to some water and set it to boiling, probably on her stove. Y'all know it would have been a wood-burning stove because she didn't have electricity, didn't have gas. We've got it made these days, don't we? All right, let's keep moving. Keep moving, Nana. Keep moving. All right. Half cup boiling water, half cup melted shortening, teaspoon of vanilla. Teaspoon of vanilla. Y'all, I don't know where my teaspoons and measuring spoons go. I have a half teaspoon. Being a former math teacher, it's not too awfully difficult for me to know that I need 2 of these to equal a teaspoon. And that's what we're going to do. There's our teaspoon of vanilla. Now, why am I not adding this to this yet? Well, because we already have an egg in there. So if this was hot enough to boil, oh wait, I need to get the pan out of the oven. I told y'all to remind me. Dang. I know, you were trying. I can hear you from where you are saying, Nana, the cake pan, get it out. We don't want it so hot we can't touch it. We just want it hot enough to melt the shortening. Okay, it's okay. We got this. Even after, I'm 72 years old. I've been cooking and baking since I was a kid. And even after that many years, not everything goes perfect every single time, but that's all right. You don't have to be perfect all the time. We'll do our best. Okay, let's get back to what we were doing. Now we've got wet ingredients almost all together. We're going to wait a little bit on that to cool. Now we need our dry ingredients. A cup of sugar. Well, I was a little shocked when I saw that we have sugar in our house because, as I've told you before, I don't eat sugar at all under any circumstance. I do not consume sugar. Let me tell y'all why we had sugar at the house. Because Papa feeds the hummingbirds in the summertime. And the hummingbirds need sugar. So, here we go. Cup of sugar. We are ready now for 1.5 cups of flour. I bet y'all can't read cursive handwriting. I mean, some of you can, but some of you cannot. That's all right. I'll take a picture of this recipe where my mother typed it, and I'll try to include that as well. All right, here we go. 1.5 cups of flour. 1.5 cups of flour. Now let's talk about measuring flour. As some of you already know this, and some of you might not. So I'm just going to put my knife down in there, make sure I don't have any air pockets in there. Tap it a little bit. Not too much. I mean, I don't want it packed in there. But I'm going to take the back of my knife, and I'm just going to make sure that that's pretty much right up to the top, and then scoop it right on off. So there's 1 cup of flour, and then 1/2 cup. I'm going to do the same thing. 1.5 cups of flour. Now, you guys might have a sifter, and a lot of recipes will tell you to sift, and that's good. You could do that, and it'll work just fine. Put this through a sifter, and I have one, but I'm just going to stir this up with a fork and get everything kind of incorporated before I start mixing. All right, there's the flour. Now it now says 1 teaspoon soda. She means baking soda, not Coca-Cola. All right, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Well, good Lord knows I didn't have a teaspoon. No worries. Wash the vanilla out and dry it good. I hope y'all are sticking with me over this. Come on. Stay with me now. Stay with me. Same thing. I'm going to put it in there, dip it out, and then just sort of, I hope you can see this, just sort of scrape it across the top of the box. Okay? 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon baking powder. All right, what next? A 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, allspice, and nutmeg. Nice. Y'all, this is when it's going to start smelling good. 1/4 teaspoon. Please tell me I have a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, good. Oh, yay. I have a 1/4 teaspoon. Cloves. Just 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice. Yep. That's it for the dry ingredients. Mix it around again. I am going to go ahead now and add that liquid shortening and that hot water. Again, y'all understand. The reason for heating that water was so she could have melted her lard. Well, today we would use probably just oil. My goodness, that smells so good. Those spices are just wonderful. Actually, we're ready to put this into a pan and put it in the oven. I'm going to grab a piece of a paper towel. I'm going to spread the shortening out in this pan because I want y'all to see when it says grease and flour the pan. What's the reason for that? Well, the reason for that is so that your cake or whatever you're baking or making doesn't stick. So we'll spread that around really well. Remember, I put it in the oven and melted it. Some of y'all probably have some of that spray stuff, and that works beautifully also. Got it all spread out. Let's just add some flour in there. Spread it around a little bit. Then you just kind of shake it around all every which direction in your pan until you've really coated all of that shortening well. And what I usually do is I just tap it off on the countertop and get everybody to go where I want them to go, which is all over, sticking to the shortening. Now I'm going to go over here to the trash can and dump this out. But y'all make sure you don't leave yet now, because we still got cake to bake and frosting to make. The pan is greased and floured. We're going to pour in the cake batter. Ready to go into the oven. On the recipe that my mother wrote, there's nothing on here for how long to bake it. So I referred back to another place where she had typed out this recipe, and it might be a little easier for some of you to read it. But it says spice cake, Anna Mae Dagenais Gallenkamp, which, by the way, I'm going to do a whole series about her. She shows you the ingredients, and she shows you to add all the things. And then she says, bake at 350 degrees until just done. Check the middle with a toothpick. Takes only 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, well, I'll set the timer on the microwave for 15 minutes, and then we'll check the middle with a toothpick, and we'll see if it's done. While that cake is baking, we're going to start working on the frosting. This is, to me, is the best part. Even if you just decide that was way too much work, I'll just buy a boxed cake mix, make my own spice cake from a box. That's okay, you can do that. I understand. I spent 30 years working. I had a career as an educator, and I know what that's like to come in from work, and maybe you just have the weekends, and my goodness, I used to say I worked all week just so I could work all weekend, meaning had clean house, do laundry, the kids involved in sports and all of the things. So I get it. Buy a cake mix if you want to. But I would love it if you would make this frosting. And this is going to be so simple. Y'all are not going to believe this frosting. All right, so it's basically, I'm going to make it while the cake is baking. Now, a little background here. My great-grandmother, just like most of y'all's, grandparents, greats, they didn't have the grocery store to just run and buy one of those, Duncan Hines frosting mixes. Grandma didn't even have access to powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar. So here's how she made her frosting. And I love this frosting. My whole family loves this frosting. Y'all got to try this now, I'm telling you. All right, it says 1 cup sour cream, and then in parentheses, my mother put 1 tablespoon of flour mixed with a 1/2 cup of sugar. Cook until thick. Ice while cake is warm. I know it is very interesting, but I'm telling you, it turns out delicious and perfect every time. Because you see, Grandma didn't have, cornstarch or whatever to thicken her frosting with. Apparently, she had some sugar and she had some flour. So I'm going to do the 1/2 cup of sugar. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. Well, here's the interesting part. When it says 1 cup sour cream, y'all stay with me, because you're going to get lost if you don't. We are not talking about this right here. Can y'all see that? She didn't have this. What she did have was no refrigeration, remember? And so did your great-great-grandparents as well. What they did have was no refrigeration, and sometimes the milk or the cream would sour. I just happen to have some delicious, amazing Air to Ground Farms heavy cream. All right, I've put 1 cup of heavy cream in there. Now you can use whatever cream you have access to. You know, buy some cream at the store. I don't think I would probably even go with half and half on this. I think I would go with either, probably the best thing you would come across at the store would be like the whipping cream, you know, something that's a heavy, heavy cream. And remember how a while ago with the cake, how we soured it? Because, yeah, my cream is still amazing. It's still perfectly perfect. And it's been in my refrigerator for at least 2 or 3 weeks. All right, but we know how to make it sour. I suppose you wouldn't have to if you didn't want to. But if you want to make this and have it be pretty authentic, then you're going to want to sour your cream. Now remember, I told you in the cake, you better keep it stirred, drizzle it in gently, because we all know from the cheese video what happens when you add vinegar to milk. It curdles and it turns into cheese. But we're not trying to make cheese today. We're trying to make our frosting. And you just stir this in. You just want to cook it until it gets thick. Now the timer on the microwave for the cake is 2.5 minutes. I'm going to have a heck of a time stirring this constantly while grabbing a toothpick to check on our cake. Let me turn the light on. That'll help a little. All right, let's look at it. Oh, no, it's not done. I can tell y'all by looking at it. I wish you could see it. It's still just kind of flat in the middle and shiny. That means it's not done yet. That's good, because we're supposed to frost our cake while it's warm. I don't like to get the frosting done about the same time the cake gets done. We'll try. We got this. Not to worry. We got this. I like to say I never fail. I either succeed or I learn. So, we got this. We'll be all right. Y'all stick with me now. I was able to entice Papa with something sweet, meaning taste of the cake and the frosting. He has come in from his wood shop to join us.
You want me to get it out?
Oh, you could. Yeah, it's going to come right out. It's going to be beautiful.
I could mess it up too.
Nah, you got this. You're fine. Oh, beautiful. Y'all, that's because we greased and floured that pan. It came out just perfect. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Grandma Gallencamp's spice cake. Old, really, really old family recipe.
Doesn't taste old.
No.
Fresh.
The recipe is old, not the cake.
Oh man, this is good.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking time out to come in and join Nana's Kitchen today.
Anytime.
Anytime I make something delicious.
That's
and
right.
sweet.
Just let me know.
Okay, I will. Well, I sure hope you guys stayed with me till the end. I know it was probably a little bit long. I'll try to whittle it down to where you don't just get bored to tears before we're finished. But anyways, before I go, as always, I want to say this to you, just in case no one has told you today, Nana loves you.